Hi everyone, I'm Dumi.
And I'm Rune.
And if you follow us on Instagram, you'll know that this video is not the one we were supposed to post today. And in this video we'll let you know why.
Because we are talking about mental health.
Yes, and how it has gravely affected us. But it's my birthday weekend and we have drinks today, and these are my birthday presents, my children, and we are the Afro-Minimalists. So let's get into it.
So I've been diagnosed with bipolar disorder.
I've been diagnosed with major depressive disorder, anxiety, and PTSD.
It's a whole cocktail.
It's a cocktail. You know, I'm always a blend of things.
Beautiful things.
A beautiful blend of things. I'm not just gay. I'm extra detailed gay. And now I'm extra mentally ill. I'm joking, guys. It's not funny.
It's really not.
So funny.
She actually had a breakdown today. That's why we're shooting this video again. Because we shot it a few days back.
Oh, we shot it. Yeah, we did.
And it was horrible. It was so terrible. But we were pretending, we're trying to be nice to each other. We're like, oh, you did a good job. That was really nice. It was a lie. And then she was editing it, and then she just got more and more depressed, like proper depressed. Like she couldn't do anything. And I was like, what's wrong? Like, what are you good? She's like, I'm so depressed. And then when we were talking about it, we just realized that it was the video, and we both hated it so much that it was playing on our,
Emotions.
on our emotions so deeply. So we're like, no, let's delete it and shoot. The day before we're supposed to post this.
Yeah, so you guys are special, I'm gonna rush through this one and edit it. But yeah, so major depressive disorder is a type of clinical depression. I don't know if it's a type, but there's lots of types of depressions. But mine specifically, the best way I can put it is that I'm tired.
Very insightful.
I was so tired, like I can't eat, I can't breathe. I can't. I just find it very difficult to do normal day-to-day basic things. And like what she said with that video, it was really bad. That video was horrendous, and because of my major depressive disorder, I just don't get sad. I get really sad. I get deep within my emotions. I was crying. I couldn't
move.
I really sat there and I couldn't understand. I wasn't able to explain my emotions properly to it, so I was like, ish. There was just something bothering me, but I don't know what it is, and I just got depressed. I was crying.
Yeah, it's been an emotional morning, guys.
Yeah, it was
but we're here, and I guess with my bipolar, I get distracted. So bipolar disorder, I'm sure there's a description somewhere because she's smart. But to me, right, it's basically just a cycle of like emotions and mental states. So on one end of the spectrum, you're like, really hype, really excited to do stuff, right? Not reasonable stuff most of the time. Like it's not like productive things. It's not like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do all my tuts, and I'm going to do all of my assignments. I'm going to cook. I'm going to do this. It's not even like that. It's crazy things like I'm going to climb Table Mountain. Granted, you have things to do, right? You're like, I need to go and climb Table Mountain right now. I need to go. And you'll do everything possible. Like it could be raining, and you're just like, no, I need to do it. And it's just very irrational things.
Yeah,
and then the other side, it's wild. Then on the other side, it's more like depression. And that's how
we call it depression, but for her, it's like detachment.
Yeah.
Literally, in the beginning of our relationship, it was tough, because we had been diagnosed a year before.
Yeah.
And before we met, we had been diagnosed a year before we met. And I was just still recovering from coming from my mental clinic. I was in a mental clinic for like 4 weeks. And I just come out, and I was back to trying to live normally and adjusting. And what were you doing?
I was ignoring my mental health. No, legit, I was ignoring my mental health. Like I got the diagnosis and I was like, whatever, it doesn't really affect me. If I ignore it, it'll go away because this is who I am. I think like this, even though it makes no sense. But I was in a better space. At least I was aware of it. I was aware of it, so I could determine my triggers. I was like, okay, I get triggered like this, like that, like that. So I was kind of working on understanding how my mind works using that diagnosis.
Yeah, I was just adjusting. But because I went to this mental clinic, which is basically where my breakthrough happened. I thought, okay, I'm okay now. I'm going back to school. I'm gonna pass. I'm gonna do these things. And I was gonna take over 20, whatever that year was my year.
We say this every year.
But that year was my year to reclaim life. I was reclaiming everything. I was gonna be the superhero. Pass all my tests, everything, every course I was gonna do. I was gonna be on top. Dean's list and everything. I was gonna do that, you know, and definitely that was the plan. And when we met, I was just writing my exams because I had to skip my exams because I was in the mental clinic. And when we started dating, you can learn about how we met.
Somewhere.
There's cuts here. But when we started like being together, that's when I realized that I still had a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Because when you're by yourself, right, you can kind of get like what you're doing and you can explain things to yourself. But when you live with someone, right, and you have to explain yourself to someone, you kind of realize how irrational your thinking is. You know, granted, it's still valid. Like your thinking is still valid. It's just that expecting someone to understand the way you're thinking without explaining it is very irrational. You know, and especially if you have been diagnosed with like a mental stuff.
Oh, sorry.
Video.
Okay.
Shit.
Sorry, go.
Yeah, so I guess communication was like always a thing. And in the beginning of a relationship, she does this thing where she stonewalls, right? And then I detach, right? So imagine someone who's detached trying to talk to someone who's stonewalling. You know, it was
horrible. It was horrible. We fought a lot in the beginning, like because we couldn't understand the way our minds work, or we couldn't even understand how our own minds work. Yeah. So you know. When we had these arguments, I would just be like, I don't want to talk about it. I'm thinking. I don't want to talk to you right now. I'm thinking about it. And she would, you know, feel like that sort of like rejection. Yeah. And then sort of like detach.
Because I don't want to get hurt. You know, so I run.
So we had this going for like 2-3 months. And then we were like, actually, no, this is ridiculous. We need to talk.
Yeah. Like dumb it down. Like you need to dumb it down completely and tell me, okay, this is how I am feeling because this, because that. The other challenge when it comes to talking about your emotions is that we're not really, well, in our households, we weren't really taught how to talk about how you feel. You know, being a black child, you know, you're taught to be tough. You have to be tough. You know,
I wasn't even taught to be tough. To be honest, I just was left to my own devices.
That's dangerous.
Like remember, I told you I told myself how to read, because my parents really weren't like that interested in me as a person. Still aren't, but you know, we'll talk about that another day. But you know, it just there wasn't really any conversations in my house about my feelings and who I am and what my interests were. It really much was like, oh, you do this because I'm your parent and you have to obey me. There were certain expectations. They were like, do good at school, go to church, do your chores, and don't do boys. You know, those are the expectations of the household, and that's very much where our communication just stayed.
Yeah. So there was no room for like emotional development, you know, of actually discovering yourself and how your mind works and stuff. And then on top of that, there's religion, you know, because I remember when I got diagnosed, the first thing that came to my mind was like, oh my gosh, you know, my demon, you know, that was it. Like I was like, it's over, like this is what's happening, because I had grown up in a community where that's the belief, is that you're either crazy because you're bewitched or you're possessed, you know. So religion really played a big part in accepting my mind and the way it works. Religion is
it's a whole separate video.
It's a whole separate video that we're gonna get into. If you guys want to hear about it, let us know in the comments. But yeah, it was just really hard to reconcile that there's nothing wrong with me, in a sense, like I'm not dirty, I'm not disgusting, I'm not a disgrace or anything. I'm not demonic. I just am, and this is how your mind works.
There's a lot of stigma around, you know, mental health in Black communities.
True.
And for me, it really wasn't like the stigma of fearing that I'm possessed or there's something wrong with me. Like I said, my parents didn't really communicate much with me, so I wasn't really aware. Like we didn't talk about things. Like I did see people who were crazy, but we never had conversations around what that actually meant and who these people were. So for me, it was mostly that I did feel like there was something wrong with me as I was growing up, but I didn't have the words to express it. I couldn't really talk to my parents about it. And for me, when I got diagnosed, it felt like someone was like, okay, you know what, your feelings are valid, you know, you're not crazy. I feel like not knowing that I was mentally ill made me feel like I was crazy.
True. I
spent a lot of time just thinking, oh, there's something wrong with me, but then I would also punish myself for thinking that I could possibly be mentally ill. Like, who did I think I was to think that I would have a mental illness? Like, that's something crazy. You should have. So I would very much like just punish myself and be like, yeah, you're crazy, you know, who do you think you are? You have all these things.
Like, you're not special.
You know, who do you think you are that you think you're mentally ill? That's not something that, you know.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So for me, when I got diagnosed, I just felt like, okay, let's deal with it, because now I know what's going on.
Yeah.
We have a word for it. Yeah. We have a word for this feeling. So naming our feelings has really helped.
It has. And I think that was like the greatest takeaway from like therapy. Understanding that it's okay to talk about your emotions. It's okay to feel your emotions. Like I guess feeling emotions I was always attached with guilt. With me, it was like, that's privilege. Like, you have real things to worry about. Who cares that you're sad? You know, just get over it. You know, that really was a common thing growing up. People just like, get over it. Yeah, get over it. Doesn't matter. And that's a real problem. Like, people don't feel okay coming to their friends and talking to their friends about like, oh, I'm feeling suicidal. I'm feeling really sad. People just be like, I don't think these thoughts will know. People are just so desperate for like distractions from their feelings and their minds that they really will like not reach out to help someone in need.
Yeah, and you know, I know it's difficult to talk to your friends. I still struggle to this day. Like, I know my friend Teebs, I know you're watching this, but every 3 months she'll be like, why didn't you tell me you were going through this? And I'll be like, I'm sorry, I will next time, and I don't. But now you know, eventually I'll tell you. But it's very difficult to talk about what you're currently going through, because you just have that imposter syndrome when you have mental health. I don't know why you would have imposter syndrome when you have mental health issues, but you know, just telling yourself that you're not really sick, you're just making it up, and that also just contributes to you not reach out for help.
Yeah.
And even when I did reach out for help, getting help is not easy.
True.
So we decided that, okay, first of all, getting mental health help wasn't necessarily part of like the plan.
No, heavens no.
Yeah.
I didn't have some great realization like I should go see someone. Nah, I was just trying to.
She was trying to finesse.
I wasn't trying to
system.
finesse the system. Okay, I was trying to ensure that I had the best opportunity to succeed in the system.
Yeah.
You know, and I was advised that this was a step in achieving success in the system. Yeah, so someone was just like, you should go and see a psychologist so that if you're really having a hard time during exam season, because life happens, you will have someone who can vouch for you. So I was like, okay, sure, you know, I was, school hadn't opened yet, so I had time. I thought I had time. Still working on it. Still working on it. But yeah, that's how I ended up being diagnosed.
Yeah, I mean, I was having a really difficult time, and I also thought, I can't write my exams, so I'm just gonna see a psychologist, because you know, I need someone to write me a little letter, right? And you know, I couldn't go to the university's psychologist because they were just booked.
Yeah, it gets crazy full.
Crazy booked. And I have to mention that we're also from a place of privilege, the fact that we can actually go and ask for help.
Yeah.
But even that, you know, it was just full. So I had to go to a private practice. I got a psychiatrist, and after a few sessions, they diagnosed me, they got me a psychologist, and it was weird. It was very weird talking to a stranger about these things. I will say that my psychiatrist and my psychologist were both male and people of color. But even after a while, my psychologist dumped me because I wasn't really connecting with him, because he's a male, and males happen to be
the source of trauma.
A source of trauma for me. So communicating with them is very hard, and because a pertinent male figure in my life is my dad, and I was never able to have an open communication type relationship with them. So it's hard to have these sort of relationships with men in general. Yeah. So when my psychologist dumped me, he got me a white female psychologist, hoping that this would help me, you know, open up more. And it did. You know, I mean, she's a woman. I think that's what she identified as. And I started talking to her about it. But when I was explaining these things to her, when I was explaining, you know, the sexual assault that black women go through on a regular basis in this country, she couldn't understand what I was talking about. Like, you know, just general things like, walking down the street, you know, black men will like shout at you, whistle, and be like, yo, you know, and will be afraid to not respond because
they could kill you.
They could kill you, right? And she was like, that happens to you on a regular? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, really? And I was like, yes. And I not only had to explain my emotional trauma to her, I had to now educate her on the black experience, on the black women's experience, and that was just too much for me.
Yeah.
So it was very hard relating to this white woman when I'm black and our experiences were different. It was very hard to communicate, you know, that. So yeah, I'm still looking for a psychologist, a black one.
Black people and mental health is such a it's like taboo still, I feel. Like even just looking at like Kanye West and his bipolar episodes that he goes through, and the way people receive that, it's very concerning still that that's the mainstream reception when it comes to mental health issues. And also things like, because in our own home languages, right, in our own mother tongues, there isn't exactly words for depression and anxiety, so that it becomes really hard to try and communicate with your family and your extended family, like, this is what I go through, you know, because sometimes the words aren't there. Like, you can't communicate.
And just because the words aren't there doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't exist or it's not real.
True.
I mean, I think people forget that language is a means of communicating, and the things we communicate change over time. That's why we add words to our vocabularies, you know, because we find different ways of explaining things.
Yeah.
So I feel sad that, you know, our languages have not evolved
Yeah.
To the point where we've included mental health. I don't know, I'm not sure. I haven't looked in, the social dictionary
and
in a while.
that's sad that I haven't tried. Also, it's really sad that I haven't tried to look into this. And then the other thing, people will be like, these depression, anxiety things, they'll be like, oh, the fact that there are no words for these things in our language means it doesn't happen to black people. And I don't know what that sort of reasoning is actually called, except wrong. Like, that makes no sense. Language is there to help us communicate. We're not governed by language, we use language to communicate.
Or governed by our past as
well.
Or
governed by our past, like, it's not the same anymore, guys. Like, the world really has changed, and it's okay to change too as a people, because it makes sense.
Like, just because our ancestors didn't do something doesn't necessarily mean it's not real or it isn't present in our in our present.
Our ancestors never had YouTube, and yet here we are.
Here we are. You can't be like, our ancestors
it's against our culture.
YouTube. It's against our culture. Culture is supposed to progress with the people. It shouldn't govern the people. True. That's what culture is.
But that's another video for another day. The point is, mental health really should start being acknowledged in the black community as a real issue.
Yeah. So we're still working on our mental health. Like, it's tough, guys. Like, we're making a video, we're laughing, we're having drinks, but the behind the scenes is that I'll be depressed for 3 whole weeks where I'm not doing anything, and then I'll have 1 week where I'll film 4 videos and even refilm a video because I feel like it and I can edit it, and then I'll crash at the end of the week, and it's very difficult to assimilate into society like that because the way life is structured right now isn't really depression friendly, I would say. Like, True. People expect you to be so productive, and how productive you are is the way people value you. Like, that's True. How valuable you are to society, and that's very difficult when you are depressed because I can't be productive as you are. It's very difficult to work a 9 to 5. Like, when I was doing my internship last year, it was bad. I could not wake up every day and go to work and be in the office. I wouldn't be even doing work, but they expect you to be in the office, and I would be depressed. And I guess I don't know what policies we have in the workplace or in schools also to accommodate people's depression and mental illnesses, because it's tough, guys. It's serious.
Like, that's who we are as people, is our minds, and if that's not in check,
but it's very difficult, living.
And if we understand that seeking mental health help can be very pricey, so there's some free resources that we've put in the description below, so feel free to check those out. It's okay to ask for help.
Please ask for help. Please ask for help. If you need it, you need it. There's no shame in asking for help. We are social beings. We should be helping each other,
Amen.
So in the description there'll be free resources. I had one when I was in high school. This guy from, I think it was Love Life or Life Love, I forgot. This person, I would email them and we would talk, and he gave me some, I don't know who they are, but I would talk to them because I didn't feel safe talking to my parents or my friends, and they helped me work through things, and I hope they can help you if help is not accessible right now. So please hold on, you're not alone. Have a community.
Your emotions are valid, you're not crazy.
So please subscribe, like, share, and please do not delete your comments. We appreciate them.
We really love your comments, guys. Please.
And we're almost at 1K, so thank you so much for the support, and we love you all.
Bye.
Bye.